Hello beautiful tribe. I thought I'd jump in here. Today's my work day, so you can see me. I'm here in my study and you might hear the kids. My mum's just next door looking after them in the lounge room, which is super awesome. But in the drive back to my house today, her and I had a really good conversation around parenting values and around what we perceived missing growing up. So what she perceived missing growing up in her upbringing, and also what I felt that I didn't get from her and dad. And there's been a lot that's worked up to being able to have these conversations so comfortably with my mum. And it's really beautiful now that we can come at it from a place of non-judgment, because I can honestly say that so much of what I didn't get from them has absolutely paved my path in this world, which is really profound. But I got a few more pieces of the puzzle today when I have started to be reflecting on some of my own fertility issues and my relationship with my body and my sexuality, and my apparent lack of close connection with my dad, simply because he wasn't capable of the hugging and the feeling and the just closeness that I was so desperately seeking as a young girl. And so I then, because I didn't get that from my dad, I looked for that approval and validation in boys growing up with disastrous results. And you know, it still plays out in aspects of my relationship now, where I really have to work on my own self-esteem and all of these things that ideally girls would get from their fathers, but so often don't because their fathers aren't capable. And so it was a really beautiful conversation to talk to my mum about what she noticed, you know, in me with my dad growing up, and what she felt hard to watch. You know, she found it hard to see that the dad just didn't have the ability to really go in for the hug and give the closeness that she just so loved giving us. And incidentally, like, she didn't have a father. Her dad died when she was 1, so on some level, you know, she wasn't even able to really ask him to recreate what she got, because she didn't get it either. So both her and I guess had that void of that close father figure, so she got to watch that too. But what I did get was incredible service from my dad, an incredible amount of, you know, all the things he did for me in terms of caring for me, like picking me up from parties in the middle of the night, not from, you know, a place of non-judgment. And even though he couldn't open his heart, he would give the clothes off his back. And so often with our own parents, when we find ourselves in the parenting journey, we look back and think that they should have been X, Y, Z, or they should have given us this, and how could you do that to me, or how could you not see this, and we play out these stories in our own head about what we think our parents should have given us. But the problem with a story like that is that it then blocks our ability to see what they actually did give us, you know, of all the mess that we feel like they've left us with, that we're putting back together as adults. There was an absolute amount of beauty, you know, that even in the hard stuff, even in the stages of our own lives that we look back on and you know, writher away in pain because it was awful. On some level, that was the making of us. And the more that we can go into our own parenting journey with our kids eyes wide open, the more we're able to see the gifts that we got from our parents, even if they came kind of dressed in, you know, not the nicest of wrapping paper. They also provided us the fuel to value what we value with our own kids. And so this is one of the extra modules that we're going to be exploring in the Aligned Parenting Program next week, where we're going to be really hashing out with the women in the group, and in some cases couples, around what they perceive was most missing in their parenting with their parents, and where in fact that was. So if you wish that your perhaps mother was more connected to you, well, who did you have a connected relationship with in the place of your mother? Or if you really sought approval from your father, then and he couldn't give that to you, who was giving you that? Because so often we stack these ideals onto who we think should have given us something, but that means that we're then out of appreciation for where it actually did come from. And in fact, even if we're still having a hard time finding it, what the absence of that thing that we wish we had has given us in our life. So how it's actually fueled us, you know, to do the very thing that most fills us up now, and what most inspires us, because we need that sense of something missing to give us the values that we have. You know, I needed to feel like I didn't have an ability to communicate closely with my dad, so that I value deeply communication and authentic connection and really hearing my own children. If I had every single thing that I thought I wanted growing up, then what would I be doing now? You know, what would the void be? What would the value be that I would be seeking to fulfill if I got everything I thought I always wanted? Because we need that stuff, and the more that we can be aware of what kind of place we're parenting from, the more we can start to bring greater intention to the dynamics with our own children, without it being a place of kind of pain, without it being a place of I need to do better, but rather it being, you know, from a place of strong intention and values around the kind of family we want to bring up and the kind of value system that we want to bathe our children in. So I just wanted to jump in and talk about that because it's really fresh on my mind, having spoken to Mum about it, and love to invite some women into this course. We've already got a beautiful bunch of people gathering in that group, and we're really looking forward to diving in. I think Jules and I have both, with her adding a fourth child to the brood, and me really kind of coming into the sibling dynamic more and more, it's definitely deepening our own sense of wisdom and our own ability to ask questions about, you know, what's this teaching us, and how can we sort of lean into the discomfort and use it as a source of growth, as opposed to, you know, keep hitting these sore points with our kids and with our partners often, because that's also a big thing that we tackle, is what about the family dynamic, you know, trying to understand a bit more about where our partner's coming from in terms of their view of parenting and what they're seeking to give your kids. Because if we're projecting onto them what we think, you know, is the right way, well, we're just projecting from our own place of, you know, perceiving something missing, or perceiving some right way based on what we perceive was wrong with how we were raised, and likely our partner's coming at things from a similar perspective. So when we can get on the same page, it really opens up an opportunity for everybody to have much greater connection and understanding with each other, which is a really beautiful way to grow as a family. So thanks Kim and Emma for joining, and that's really where we're at. So jumping in next Monday for 2 weeks for our aligned parenting program. So yeah, diving into building secure attachment, looking at the challenges that are coming up with our kids. So what's sort of the mirror there, and what are they helping us learn more about ourselves, and then looking at the family dynamic. So where we perceive perhaps that we're being too supportive or we're being too challenging, where is the opposite coming from for our children? So if we feel like someone's being harsh on them, who's being kind? If we feel like they're, you know, really having a hard time, then who is actually giving them support? Because we're always getting it, and the quicker that we can see it, and the quicker we can help our children see it, the more that they can grow through the challenge that they're going through, and the more we can too, because it's a huge dynamic that we're part of with our kids, and they're teaching us just as much as we're teaching them. So thanks for joining, and see you soon.